Right, hi all, it's Bob from Greybeard Models, and welcome to the tow truck AA type build. This is the Miniart kit number 35351, and thought I'd get on with the building of this next. As with all Miniart kits, you get various options, and we've got this one here, which is they think is a sports auto club. This one here, which is a Red Army. This one here at the back, which is an unknown Wehrmacht unit from the Eastern Front, 1942-43, which is a fairly interesting blue colour. And then the other option is this one, which is an unknown Wehrmacht unit in the Eastern Front, 43-44. I quite like this one, and I'm going to go for this one. The reason I'm going to go for this one is because it will leave all of the rear of the truck exposed, so you'll be able to see all of the control bits and all that sort of stuff. And I quite like it. It looks, you know, it's a bit of a bare bones one, but I think that's the option I'm going to choose. And it's important when you start on one of these kits to realise right at the get-go which option you're going to pick. So that's the one we're going for. So as with all Miniart instruction booklets, you have the sprue call out here, and then you have the various assembly sections. A lot of people do this, I do it as well, is actually just get in with a rule and mark out which areas are the separate steps. It makes it a lot easier to follow as you go through the build. This is a fairly standard build, but it's you know, you can miss things out if you're not prepared. So the other thing going through this, because the option that we've chosen, we've got to go through the instructions and look out for where things might change, and that is one example here in section 22. You're putting on the two front wings, and then there's two support beams that go across the chassis to hold the bodywork, the rear of the truck, if you were to have like a wooden body there. We're not going to have that, so we don't need these pieces. Going on through the kit, there's an option here to have the front hood open, and I'm going to go for that. I quite fancy the idea of having the hood up, because it will not only show the engine detail, and it's quite a detailed engine, but it goes with the whole thing of showing the workings of the truck, and I quite like the idea of doing that. And the next part, because that's what I'm going to do, I've highlighted that so that when I come through it during the build I'll remember. And then the other part is this section, these sections here. All of these sections here are the rear body of the truck. Not going to use that, so all of this is redundant because I'm not going to build it, which is quite neat. That means I can now go through the sprue call out and remove all of the parts that I'm not gonna use. The rear end of this, again, we're not going to need this part of it. We'll need this, so it's a little bit tricky, but we're not going to put the body shell in there, or the truck bed with that on, so we'll leave that. So once the crane's built, it'll just fit on the back chassis here. So that's the build that we do. So for that, highlighter, to be honest, once I've got to this stage you pretty much know what we're going to do, and then because we're not going to use that, we can come in and basically put a line through that, because that way we're not going to use that section. And that's it. That's the instructions part. So what I'll do next is go on through and make a start, and I'll come back to you in a second. Now Miniart, for reasons best known to themselves, have got a rather unique way of doing the wheels and tyres. So I've gone straight ahead to that section because that's something that can be done. These parts can be then set aside, and we'll come back to them later when we actually need to start constructing the wheels. But I thought I'd just show you these two parts, section 7, section 8. I think they've used this option in a number of kits, but essentially this is a construction of number 7. So off of a sprue C, see if I can get that the right way up. Right, off of sprue C, we've removed 1, 2 and 3 as per that, and then put them together as per that, and that creates your tread pattern on a tyre. And on this one, I just noticed that there's a little sprue nub there that just needs tidying up. So what I've done with these is just put the 3 parts together, put some extra thin, Tamiya extra thin in each of the treads, and just stuck it down. I'm not worried about going all the way round the tyre at this stage. What I'll probably do is then, my thoughts are, and other people may do it slightly different, but my thoughts are I'll get all the section 7s together. So I've got quite a number of parts here, all held together with pegs. There's a number there, and then those parts can go together. So the next section, section 8, is to take part C4, C5, C6, C7, so 4, 5, 6 and 7, and stick those together as per that layout. It's important to get all the aspects right. One of the things, because it's a tread pattern, the edges of the parts, I don't know if you can pick that up, but obviously section C4 is like the centre rim, centre of the tyre, and then these 3 parts, obviously that's the out, oh sorry, gone in out shot, that's the outer part of the tyre, that's the next step in, and that's the next step in. So it's important to get the aspects right, and the edges of the tyres, when you look at them, they have a slight camber, so to indicate which way round they would go. So that's the next stage, and I've got a couple of those already made up. This is one that's already made up. So there's section 8. That goes with section 7 to create the full tyre. And as in section 9 here, when you put these together, you have the hub, which is part CD1, which is sitting here. So CD1 is that hub there. So that comes out, and then one part fits on there, and obviously the other part fits on the reverse, and that's how they go together. But I thought I'd just highlight that particular unique piece of construction. It's odd. I've not seen this before, and it's I think it's an interesting concept. It's one way of ensuring that you've got good tread pattern, but it's, I don't know if it's a beneficial move or not, but that's the tyres. So what we do now, I'll get all of those parts all made up, and then we'll come back and we'll make a start on the engine. The engine's quite a detailed piece, so I'll come back to you in a second. Cheers. So in the construction of the Model A Ford engine, which is in the Miniart kit, is these sections here. I wanted to refer to a couple of references first. One of the things that I noted was that the generator here seems to hang off the fan belt, and clearly that would not be the case. There is a mounting bracket for the generator, so that needs to be produced. And also the starter motor, which fits in there, has this thing sticking out the top of it. Now there is a cut-off switch here, and that I think is possibly the wiring that goes through the instrument panel or the dashboard. And when you look at the construction of the engine in situ in the model, if I can find the picture again, it shows that where are we? There we go. So with the engine in position, here, that part goes up like that, and then according to this diagram here on page 9, it goes into where the footboard is of the cab. Now I don't know how accurate this is, so I needed to look at some reference pictures. So I got this book, and it's actually quite useful, because the first thing it shows you in this diagram is that actually, get me a pointed stick, there is a bracket here behind the fan belt that supports the generator, and it's actually called the generator support. There's also an adjustment here, a generator bracket, which allows the generator to come in or come out, and therefore you get adjustment of the fan belt. So that's not in the kit, and this bracket's not in the kit. So what I need to do is mock it up and then decide how to replicate that bracket and how to replicate that adjustment bracket. The other drawing that I also have, or I have in this book, actually shows the wiring. Now what it shows here is the starter motor, and there's a heavy gauge cable that goes onto the battery from the starter motor, and there is a cutout switch. Now it looks to me like what they're trying to represent in the kit is this part here, which is the starting switch control, and I think that's what they're trying to show is that it's not the battery lead, it's that. So now I understand what the kit's trying to do. We can now get on and start assembling the engine and look at modifying the kit parts to include the missing generator bracket, etc. So I'll come back to you in a second. So with the basic assembly of the motor, or the engine, don't know if the camera will pick that up, but what I've done is assembled most of the parts in section 1 and section 2 of the instructions. The parts that I've actually left off are the exhaust intakes, the exhaust and the intake, and this assembly here, which is almost like the carburetor, I suppose, and this hose here, which goes to the air cleaner. So I've left all of these off, and the reason for that is because in this assembly it would just make it awkward, and also they're a slightly different colour. The intake I want to paint that sort of a steel colour. In the paint run it says it should be rust, and the exhaust should be rust. I'm not so sure about that. And the distributor on the top of the engine there, I haven't fitted that yet, and I'll come to that in a minute. They've got that down as a colour 11, which is sort of a red-brown colour according to the colour call-outs. But that's the basic assembly of the engine part as it is now. And now I wanted to look at the top of the engine, and on the top of the engine, don't know if you can make this out, but you've actually got the spark plugs there. So one of the things to do is, when the distributor is in place, we'll add the spark plug leads. We can do it in this scale, it's fairly straightforward. I didn't do it on the 148 fire engine, but I can certainly do it on this. The other thing that I'm going to look at is this point here on the front of the engine here. I hope that's sort of coming out. But on the front here, one of these bolts, I believe it's that one, there should be a bracket that holds the generator, and then I think it's that bolt there, if my memory serves me right, has got an adjustment bracket that allows for the swing of the generator and alters the tension on the fan belt. So that's one of the things that I want to do next. But let's have a look at the distributor, and I'll come back to you in a second with my reference book. So here's a close-up of the diagram in the Model A restoration book. Excuse me. And as you can see, we've got the spark plugs. As I said, we've got the spark plugs on the top, and then this diagram actually shows the position of the spark plugs here and how the cables go. The long cable there, short cable there, and the same on this side, short cable there and a long cable there. So what we'll do is, once this is painted, paint the distributor, put that in position, and we'll fit some cables in place. That's what we're going to do next. So hopefully that will come out okay. But we'll do that after this has been painted and the other parts are painted, and I'm putting it all together. So hopefully that should work. And I'm losing my voice. Anyway, that's enough for now. We'll come back to you with another video very shortly. Thanks for watching, and I hope you're following this and hope you're enjoying it. I certainly am. So anyway, see you next time. Bye for now.